some business legal stuff, right? So last week, what did we do? You remember? Yes, exactly, right? So we looked at finance, we looked at banking, we looked at investment, we've looked at what some of the things we should look out for in business legal-wise. So today we are going to look at procurement matters, and we are going to look at it from the public sector. God willing, next week we look at it from the private sector. But don't switch off your TV yet. You think I'm not in the public sector? No, you can be a private entity and be working with the public sector. How do you do that? We'll tell you how it's done. So just relax, and let's do this. You know how it's done. If you have any questions, any contributions, the number 0559 680066. 0559 680066. And I think I have 3 very strong personalities here. And one thing I can tell you is that it's not going to be boring at all. It's not going to be. So let me start with, should I start with the lady? Yeah, let me start with the lady. So I have Mame Ifuakuta Otu. Mame is a principal auditor with the procurement unit at the Ghana Audit Service. She is highly experienced when it comes to procurement matters. So she's a procurement professional with over 15 years of senior level experience in public service and corporate environment. She has chartered in procurement and supply chain management and holds an MSc in logistics and supply chain management from K University. She's also a member of several professional bodies, including the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply, Chartered Institute of Supply Chain Management, Ghana. She's also a Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. She possesses expertise in procurement planning and management, market analysis and research, procurement audit and compliance, and training. So one thing I love about her is the fact that she's the CEO of Havila's Touch Catering Services and Akalaway.
Yeah.
That's how you did it. That's nice.
Yeah.
A call away.
Yeah.
I think that's events.
Yes,
everything events. So what do you do in respect to events?
So we do catering, we do deco, everything events. Everything.
So
events.
how do you combine that with work?
Yeah, we manage it.
You have to, because in Ghana you can't. No, it's not possible to just do one thing. And I like the fact that when intellectuals like ladies know how to do things with their hands, it's a whole.
Yes.
You're welcome. But today we are talking about procurement.
Exactly.
Another time we'll talk about events.
Exactly.
So today and you are very much welcome, Mame.
Thank you.
And I have with me Mr. Abraham Ablo Mensah. If you know Mr. Ablo, you know him already. AB for short, right? You know him. You should know him. If you watch Hope TV, you should know him. He is the Deputy Director for Capacity Development and Operations at Ghana's Public Procurement Authority, PPA. Yeah, he's with PPA. He's an accomplished procurement and financial management specialist with over 19 years of experience. He has played a pivotal role in procurement, policy, development, training. When it comes to regulatory compliance, he's an expert there. One thing I also love about him is the fact that he trains, right? Beyond his leadership role at PPA, he's an experienced lecturer at Accra Technical University and the Institute of Local Government Studies, where he teaches procurement, risk analysis, and contract law. Yes, he's also a course facilitator at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, that's GEMPA. He's worked and trained on World Bank procurement guidelines and other specialized procurement topics. When it comes to the GANEPS, what is GANEPS? Don't worry, you understand. The GANEPS basically is a Ghana Electronic Procurement System. It's a system that the government sector uses. He'll explain more of that. He is, when you want training on that, he's one of the go-to people. When it comes to the World Bank, African Development Bank, European Union, and DFIP, he's trained them, he's worked with them. When it comes to his academic backgrounds, yes, he has an MBA in finance. And one thing too is he has an MSc in management, financial management, right, from India. He's not a local person. And another thing is he was at Valley View University, right? So he's a member of both the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply and the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. He's a strategic leader. Should I go on? I can go on. Hey, AB.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I think your face is familiar, but people don't know you in respect to procurement.
Yes.
They know you in respect to other things.
Other things.
Yes.
I do a lot of things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
But
take
today,
it one at a time.
it's important.
Yeah.
So today, dear, you are here to help us with the procurement matters.
Today we are talking procurement.
We have to. We have to. And my last guest, not the least in any way, is Mr. Clement Jima. Clement is the acting head of procurement at the Ghana Audit Service. He's been with the service for over 16 years, and when it comes to the procurement unit, he's worked with them for 6 years. One thing I love about the fact that he's worked with several institutions, including the World Bank, on procurement reviews. He's trained other staff in procurement to aid their audit. He's a member of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, a member of the Chartered Institute of Supply Chain Management. He got his first degree and second degree from University of Cape Coast. Which university is it? Yes, Cape Coast. That's I don't know why people go to that. And with an MBA, he has an MBA in finance, right? He holds a second master's in procurement and supply chain management. University of what?
Choice.
Constant
Choice.
confusion.
No.
Constant confusion.
No. You can't
Because anyway,
it's a
you're
university
welcome.
of choice.
Yeah.
It is because how you before you get a is it the 80s?
That's why it's a university of choice.
Of consequence confusion. I hope you're good.
I'm fine.
You're welcome. Welcome to the
Thank you.
program.
Thank you.
One thing when I was reading your CVs, one thing I went through is about that when it comes to procurement, lady and gentlemen, you're on top of your game. So let me just plug us in. There's a debate ongoing with ECG, right? And we are being told that when it comes to procurement guidelines, they've breached all of them. They didn't go to PPA. They said that they have exemptions from PPA, and we are hearing a whole lot of things. So let's try to understand ECG before we move on proper. So by all means, if you've heard about the ECG brouhaha and you're interested in it, means I'm interested. So Mr. Ablo, you are from PPA. Help us to understand a little bit about what is happening with ECG, and then we'll move on to educating our guest.
Okay, thank you very much. The Act, the Public Procurement Act 663, as amended, defines who is declared as an entity. So in section 15 says the minister in consultation with the board by notice of gazette may declare an entity. So as at the time of the enactment of the act, a lot of institutions were declared public entities. Along the line, some felt that they need to ask for exemption, which they will write to the minister and to the PPA, and then based on consultation and some further investigations, the authority may do the recommendations and the minister may grant. In the case of the ECG, there are so many information out there. I do not have all the facts. So I think that what we can do now is that let's hold our fort. Let's allow the investigations and all the other issues that are ongoing go on smoothly, and then we'll know what the real status of ECG is. So as it stands now, like I said.
But to the best of your knowledge, are you aware of any exemption given to
And that is why I'm saying that there are so many information out there. There are so many information that some of us read about in the news and all of that. And
you are PPA.
Officially. I work at PPA, but I'm the spokesperson of PPA. Yeah.
I think you're pushing him to.
So I think that we need to allow all the other investigations and other issues that are ongoing.
So let me play the devil's advocate. If all things have been equal, they're exempted, there's no problem. But if they're not exempted, it means that there will be a problem.
If they are exempted, they may be exempted on certain guidelines and certain rules.
So if they are exempted, then they will have no problem. No. But if they are not, then that will be a problem.
In both angles, we need to find ways to weigh Because if they are exempted, they may be exempted based on certain things and certain guidelines and certain rules, which they need to also fulfill certain requirements. And if they are also not exempted, they have to also fulfill certain requirements. So in both angles, whichever way, the issues are so many. Every day we hear new things.
New things coming up.
So
That's
I
true.
believe that
That's
let's
true.
all hold our thoughts.
But you know something, by the time we are done
that.
educating ourselves on procurement matters today, at least we have an idea. We will come to a conclusion. You yourself, no one is going to tell you. You yourself, you come to a conclusion and ask yourself, do you think ECG did the right thing or not? Don't judge them yet, right? Let's go through this. So now let's move on. When you talk about procurement, what's procurement? What are some of the basic things you have to understand when it comes to procurement?
Okay, so procurement basically is, let me take it from this angle. All that we are not self-sufficient. We can't do all that we have to or we need. So once you don't have that, then you need to fall on somebody to provide what you don't have. And once you are doing that, there is a process that you follow. Not as an individual. I'm talking as an entity. Yes. Okay. And for individual, you just wake up, then go and buy your things that you need. But when it comes to a corporate entity, then there's normally a laid down rule or regulation guiding what you have to do. So procurement is a process of acquiring what you don't have in terms of goods, in terms of getting service from other people and works and all that. So basically, that is procurement. I think the terms have evolved from buying, purchasing, and all that. But currently, we are with procurement. So okay. that is basically
it's synonymous with buying, purchasing in a way.
So we can say that it is the strategic process of acquiring goods and services, and this encompasses planning, sourcing, negotiating with these suppliers, and very importantly, managing relationships.
Okay.
It is very important because it is not just about buying something. You need something and buying it, but you need to keep the relationship going so that you would have continuous supply. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So now let's go to the cycle. When we talk about the cycle in respect to procurement, what is it? And
okay. So for the procurement, like Clement just said, it comprises of 4 categories of items that we do procure. We procure goods, we procure works, we procure consultancy services, and technical services.
Okay.
All of them have their individual cycles, but there's a generic cycle which applies to all of them. So every procurement activity must start with planning. So in everything there must be the planning. When you are done with your planning, now you look for how you want to source for the item. So we go to the sourcing. And when you are sourcing for the items, as we go into the discussions, we'll delve into procurement methods. So how do you source for the item? Do you write to the people? Do you do an advert? Or do you go directly to the person to just ask for? Now, when you have sourced for the item, the next thing you do is to evaluate. So procurement is in the default method is competition. So when you have sourced and you have a group of suppliers or contractors having submitted their bids, you need to evaluate and check which one is giving you the best offer. So after the evaluation is done, contract is awarded. Now, when contract is awarded, you don't wait, you don't sleep. But the next thing to be done is that the contract must be administered, which we call contract administration. So in the entire cycle, by the time you go through the entire cycle, if it is about roads, the planning was done, the sourcing has been done, the evaluation is done, the contract has been awarded. At the end of the day, you see that the road is completed. Then you know that the cycle is complete. So the generic cycle, this is what goes into it. But if we want to bring into goods, into works, into technical service, there are various diversions. So let me just do a little bit. Generally, these are the key areas that every procurement, be it goods, be it works, be it consultancy, be it technical services, all of them will go through the various stages.
So now let me put it in context. All things being equal, if you have a business, okay, and you have people working with you, by all means, you don't have everything, as Clement said, you don't have everything in-house, right? So by all means, you buy something, right? You source for someone cleaning your company, you want maybe chairs, you want tables, so what do? Do you stand up and just go to Kingdom books, whatever, and go and buy your stationery? So what AB is trying to tell us that there are stages, you understand? You don't just stand up and go and buy. Take your time. He's giving us those stages. So the first one is you plan. Then the second one is you source. So you plan. What do I want to buy? How many do I want to buy and all that?
What's my budget?
What's my budget? And then you source. You source meaning that you go out there and say, I want this. All of you, if you're interested, come.
Depending on your needs, then there are options to which you want to look out for.
Okay.
The various people who can meet your needs.
So your needs, the quality, and then you're looking at the price, you said. Okay, so you're looking at all these things, right?
Yeah.
And then you select one.
Yes. So
you do the evaluation.
So now when you have been given the quotations, you now do an evaluation. So you've got various offers coming from various groups of people. You now need to go through an evaluation. And the evaluation, which will take us to another form of discussion, is where you want to identify and say that you are attaining value for money. There are so many factors that come under value for money, but sometimes people may only be using price as an example.
But if you ask me, I've said price and quality.
Yeah, but so many factors.
But then when you talk about quality, it's also relative, because what do you term as quality? So you have the specifications.
Okay.
When the need arises, the next thing you look out for is the specs. You need caps. What kind of cap do you need? There are various kinds of caps. Now there's this what do you call it? Stanley cap that is in vogue now. Is it a Stanley cap you need? Is it a mug? Is it a rubber cap? So you see, if you allow me, I can mention a lot of caps.
Yeah.
A lot of caps. But I think initially you were sealed with just a cap. But what kind of cap? Even the shape of the cap will come in here.
So that will come under the planning?
It comes into your planning. It sets the tone of understanding what you want. And that's why there's this adage that says that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. A lot of our procurements, be it private, be it individual, be it public sector, are not going well because we are not planning well. We are not looking at our real needs and identifying the needs and checking whether they meet certain requirements which we put into our requirements. But like you said, maybe your office, you need a chair. So all of a sudden, I need a chair. Then you put in your plan, procurement of chairs. But the question is, what kind of chair do you want? What size? Who is coming to sit on the chair? A lot of factors will have to go in.
So this one goes beyond even companies, even as an individual.
Yes.
Yeah, but
we are talking about businesses here. But be looking into your life and be applying it to your life, because don't start up and just go and buy. I beg.
And especially this time that we are doing public procurement.
Yeah.
And if we are doing public procurement, it means that we are using the public funds.
Okay, so now
So
I'm
it's
zooming
very
into the
important.
public.
It's
What is
very
public
important.
procurement?
Yeah.
What are the laws governing public procurement?
Okay, so public procurement is the use of entities that have been declared as public entities are obliged to use public procurement, which is guided by the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 63, as amended. And when I say as amended, we had the 2003 Act 63, and then we have the Public Procurement Amendment Act 2016 at 914.
Yes.
But the Amendment Act just gave us guidelines about deleting certain areas and adding certain areas. So it's an amendment towards the Principal Act. But in recent times, too, we have got the Public Procurement Regulation, LI. So that is also an enhancement to the Act. So public procurement is using public funds, funds that are coming, all public institutions that are guided by the by the states. They take their powers from the states, and it says it is financed in whole or in part. So even if your institution doesn't take money from government, but has a little bit of an attachment with government, it means that you are covered under the Public Procurement Act.
So far as you're a public entity,
Exactly.
it means that,
entity.
okay.
And if we are to take it down for the layman to understand, when we are talking about the public funds, we are talking about me and you, our money.
The taxpayers.
The taxpayers' money. The little taxes they take from even the charcoal seller and everybody is the public funds. So if you are using the public funds to do anything for the government, then you need to use the public law. That is the people's law. You would have to go by it.
Okay, and to add, you don't only look at these two laws, the Act and then the regulation. There's also what we call the Public Financial Management Act and its regulations. Because what you are going to do, I always say that public procurement, the financial aspect is to some extent what is causing so much debt for government, because we don't look at the funds we available before we start procurement. So procure, and then there's no money to pay, and then suppliers will be chasing you and all that. So you have to,
no money.
Because the law specifies at what point you should sign a contract. Currently, we are using gift mix. So the law says that if you are signing a contract, you should have a PO that is generated from
what
the
is
gift
PO? So now let's go a little bit. Let's go a little bit back. What is gift mix?
Okay.
What is PO? And then we'll move on.
So a PO is a purchase order.
Okay.
Yes, which is generated because we are using gift mix. It's generated on the system, and then you print it and give it to the supplier. It's a commitment.
What is gift mix? Let's start from there.
So gift mix is Ghana integrated financial management system. Yes. Yeah. So that is gift mix. So all public institutions are supposed to use it for their financial management.
Is it a software that?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's a software that's all public funds, or like government accounting software. It's a government accounting software where payments are made. So if there's any transaction, anything that has been done and payment will have to be made, it is made through this system. And the gift mix runs such that you don't even, in the previous past, people were going to entities to collect checks. But now with gift mix, you don't go to the entity to collect a check. All you need is submit your requirements and everything, if you have done the delivery and all the details, and then
wired through
it will be wired to your account direct. So it's an electronic transfer system of paying third parties in all government transactions.
Okay, so it means that this GiveMex, all things being equal, you have all the government entities on it, and every supplier is supposed to also be on it.
Okay, so let me also add that not all government institutions are on GiveMe's. Yes. So the category of government institutions vary. So if we come to SOEs, state-owned enterprises. So there are state-owned enterprises that are operating separately. So they may have their own ERP systems that they use. Institutions that are on GiveMe's are institutions that source their funds from the consolidated fund and the Ministry of Finance. So those that do not have any direct link with Ministry of Finance and they are operating like businesses, and they generate
like ECG,
like they generate and all of that. They operate their own accounting software. Yeah. So some have their own ERP systems that they use and then they work on. So they are not under GiveMe's. GiveMe's are for the ministries and the departments and then the MMDAs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's move on. So the GiveMex is in place. We have the government entities there. We have the suppliers in there. And so what you are saying is that before a government entity can really buy, they have to go to this GiveMex to do that?
No, they need to use GANEFs. I think we are mixing the two.
Okay, so now
let me
help us understand.
So
please, I hope you are following.
As it stands now, GiveMe's is more like separate software from the GANEFs.
Okay.
But I think we are working as a nation. We are working hand in hand towards integrating the two.
Okay.
So that before you can, the GiveMe's is more for procurement.
Okay.
But once it's integrated, and as I said, you need the money to do the procurement. And mostly institutions don't get the money and they start the procurement. But when it is integrated, then you cannot use the GANEFs if you have not generated what we call a requisition on the GiveMe's. Because the requisition will set aside some amount of money, an estimated amount of money to cover the procurement. So then you go to GANEFs. That is where already you have planned, so your plan will be in the system. So GANEFs is said that if you have not even planned, you can't procure on the system. So your plan will already be there. Then you can use the system to get the person to supply the goods. And once you get the person to supply the goods, then you can generate what I said, the PO, which is a commitment of the funds that you have set aside. Now you know actually how much it's going to cost you to get the things that you need. So you do that PO, then the PO and the signing of the contract should be at the same time. Then the contract management will come in. You will manage the contract. The person, if it's goods, once he supplies and the checks are done and it complies with the specifications that you've already set out, then you can go ahead to prepare the payment voucher on the GiveMe's and he will be paid.
So basically, GiveMe's is the payment platform.
Okay.
The last end.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So of all the procurement processes that you go through, currently, what is happening is that all public entities do their own thing. Then at the latter part, they now rely on GiveMe's for payments.
Yeah.
So that is the platform that we have. Now that we are also moving into the electronic procurement system, which we mentioned as GANEFs. When you are done with the GANEFs, it looks like you need to also go through another payment platform, another payment system to be made. So that is what he talked about. So generally, our procurement is, the processes we walk through from the planning stage to the sourcing stage is where now a little more of a detailed work go into. who are supposed to, what you are asking of a need, and then who are the people who are supposed to participate in the need, what are the various approaches. So those are some of the things as we progress in the discussions, we will be able to bring them out as we move on.
Maybe we've progressed.
Yes.
So you have to add it to it for me. So I want to, okay, so now let me get to the law. Can anyone in Ghana be part of this system and supply to all public entities? Or we have a caveat that this entity you can supply, this entity you can't?
Okay, so let me just be specific.
Okay.
Section 22 of the Public Procurement Act gives qualification of tenderers. So if you pick Section 22, it says that the business is supposed to have some professional background, it must be registered, it must be solvent, and all of those requirements. So for whoever, any private entity that wants to do business with any public institution in Ghana, one must be registered as a business at the Registrar General's Department, the Registrar of Companies, Office of the Registrar of Companies. Yeah. And be it a sole proprietor, be it limited liability, be it joint venture, they must be registered.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
They must be registered because you need to have that legal capacity, that capacity to enter into a contract. Number two, now, when you are registered, you should be a constant taxpayer. So a lot of people cry aloud and say that they participate in public tenders and that they were pushed out because they could not submit their tax clearance certificate. There's one thing registering with GRA as a taxpayer, and there's one thing registering, and there's another thing paying the tax. So if you are registered with GRA, yes, you have the thing. But when you are participating in a tender, one of the key requirements is that you must have a valid tax clearance certificate. And GRA has even made it 30 days validity. Yeah. Meaning that it's supposed to be something which is habitual and constant.
And this is spelled out in the Act.
It is specifically spelled out in the Act. The third important...
Every 30 days.
Yes.
Yes.
So that too...
Oh, but if you are a constant taxpayer, I should not be. Now even you can get your TCC online.
Online. Oh, online. Okay. So you don't need to go to the office.
You don't need to go to the office to get it.
That's good.
Now the third important thing that you also need to have is that the business should be registered with SNIT, and anytime you are participating in a tender, you must have a SNIT clearance certificate.
Even if I'm a sole proprietor and I'm the only person,
you should be paying the SNIT of yourself.
If I'm above 45.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
If I'm above 60.
Oh, if you are above 60,
then you are out.
But on the other hand, even if you are a sole proprietor, you don't work alone. You work with people.
Alone. I'm giving you a scenario where I'm a so.
Yes,
and I'm above the age of paying because there's a caveat.
Then that one you need to get an exemption.
Okay.
Get a proof from SNIT that based on these criteria, you are not required to be this requirement, you are exempted from that. Then if that is the case, you are okay. I always emphasize on the SNIT clearance certificate because a lot of people are working in the private sector. They work for businesses, and these businesses are doing business with government. At the end of the day, their SNITs are not being paid.
Yes.
And people go on retirement in the private sector and they take home nothing. And sometimes the same private sector people will come back and saying that participating in public procurement is cumbersome and that they are asking for SNIT. But the people who are working with you, you are not paying their taxes. You are not paying their SNIT, which should hold them for the future. So for me, I think that these key requirements are very important.
And the funny aspect is that in you participating in the public tender, it's because you need some of the public funds.
Yeah.
You understand? And if you need some of the public funds, these people working for you are also taxpayers, and you are not paying their SNIT.
So it means that if you're an entity out there, you want to work with the public sector, it's a good idea, right? But they've showed how it's done, what you should have in place to ensure that it's done. But Clement, one thing sometimes I wonder is the fact that yes, you all here tendering. So this one tender, this one tender, this one tender. They pick the best one. You see, that's theory. But practically, does it work? That's one. And not two. Two. I hear of soy sauce.
Okay.
So if you are doing, plenty people should come. So that then what is this thing about soy sauce? So, is that fair?
So as Mr. Ablo said earlier, the default method for public procurement is competition.
Okay.
We want people to compete.
Okay.
And then we get the best out of the competition. And it happens. If you've been reading the papers, you see that institutions are advertising that people should participate.
Most people tell you that it is smoke screen. They're just doing it. They know the person they'll give it to.
No.
Really?
It's just
no.
Oh,
okay, so I can talk about where for where we work, where I work, we don't do
But you've
that.
heard of those rumors?
It's in the public, so I've heard it. But where I work, we don't do that. Once you win, that is it. We don't have any preference. Once you'll be able to supply. Some people come and tender and they win and they are surprised because, as you said, there is that perception
out there.
So that it happens. We tender. You tender if what the person is looking for or the institution is looking for is what exactly you have and your price is competitive.
Why not?
Yes, and I'm sure other institutions are doing the same. So when it comes to source sourcing,
yeah, you are saying that the benchmark is competition. Source sourcing, there's no competition.
Yeah, so when like the issues around, we are hearing that is source and all that. So the Act allows for. So the Act says single source, and that is a method. I think we've not delved into the methods.
Yes.
But once you have brought this,
So
let me talk about this, and
exactly.
then maybe my colleagues will talk about the other method.
Yeah.
So the section 40
Section
of the
40,
Act talks about single source, and it has given conditions as to
What
how.
is single source and what are the
Okay,
conditions?
so single source is you are not doing competition.
Okay.
So I know that you supply these caps, so I come to you direct. I don't go to any other place.
That's
That is
unfair.
single.
So what are the conditions that will make it
yes,
fair?
Yeah.
So the conditions that have been enumerated over the section 40. First is
Clemens, I think that will be appropriate so that we don't paraphrase.
okay.
Let's
so
be more
read the-
specific.
Okay.
If you read it, then
I'm
my
not
time will
going
kill me.
so much into
Okay,
detail.
all
But
right, all right.
you see, single source is a generic word which is being used.
Okay.
Like Clemens said, that in all procurement procurement, there are three areas. It's either competitive, or we are doing a close competition, or we are doing direct.
Okay.
So it's either open competition, which is open for everybody,
Which should be the
which is the
hallmark,
default, which is the default.
Okay.
Or we want to close the competition. There will be some competition, but we want to restrict it to some few people.
Okay.
Or we want to go direct. I want to come from that angle.
Okay.
In the direct process, the law. So you see, we use the single source and sole source interchangeably.
Okay.
Yes. Single source is single source, meaning that you are going to one place. But sole source is defined as in section 41A
Okay.
of the Act, which says that where the services or the goods are only available from one particular supplier who has the patent exclusive rights.
Okay.
So if we are looking at a software and there's only one person who has that patent, does it warrant competition? No, it doesn't warrant competition. So
that one there, yes, we agree.
So yeah, so
the next one.
which one does you agree? Which one does you agree?
So you see, you want this machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only this person can give you the
Yeah.
machine.
Yes.
So sourcing, it makes sense.
It's
commonsensical. It makes sense to us, yeah?
Okay.
So now let's go to the single one.
Okay.
Which doesn't make sense.
So let me come in,
You
yeah.
can
Okay.
take the single
So-
one.
So sole source is a condition for single source.
Explain.
Are you getting it?
No, explain.
So as Mr. Ablo read,
Yeah.
What he read is the condition to use single source as a method.
As a method.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Yes.
The second condition is emergency.
Okay.
COVID-19.
Emergency. So, for example, I think
During
last
COVID.
2 years or thereabout, rainstorm wiped out a part of the road.
Yes.
That created an emergency. You can't wait and go through the competition and get somebody to fix the road.
I think that's also fair. The next
So that one
because
is an
really,
emergency.
frankly speaking, as we are discussing, I want to understand ECG one because I don't understand. Because it's our money, and because how much we pay for electricity, this I don't understand.
Okay,
And
so
then the second one is the private person who is into business.
Yes.
How can that person really benefit from the state after
Yeah.
paying all these taxes?
Okay, so
Then
then
the next part is about owing to catastrophic events. So you see, there is an agency where unforeseen circumstances, going through competition, you cannot do that. Then the third one is our catastrophic events.
Catastrophic like what? An
Oh,
example.
like COVID-19 came. We needed certain things to do. We needed to do.
No, if with
Okay,
that one you are even going for the other one you were talking about, like the closed one, you know that this one can give you max, this one can give you. I understand, but to go single.
Let me give you
see,
a clear example.
Okay.
A rainstorm hits. Or let me use the
flag.
Bwepe Road.
yeah, so
the
let's
bridge.
that
bridge is helping power.
So we have agency and emergency.
And
There are two things.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
The agency has to do with time.
Yes.
You don't have time to go through the competition.
Yes.
So that is agency.
Agent.
The
Yes.
emergency is the road matter.
Yes.
It's a catastrophe that has brought it. That is
It
where
is impractical to say you are going to, because we
Wait.
need to solve the
But
problem.
if you tell me you are going for closed sourcing, the one you were talking about, that you know this one does it, this one that. So these 4 people, please come and let's
But
do
it's
it.
not done. It's not done.
It will take time.
It's not done that way.
Okay, now let's come back to this one.
Yeah.
How long ordinarily, if let's say for example, a private and a government entity like other services, they want chairs, and I'm a private person, I want to really come in. How long does it take generally?
Okay.
Timelines.
Okay, so you are looking at what we call in procurement
The NCT.
lead time.
Yeah, the lead time. Yeah.
Okay.
So right from your planning till you get your contract, there's supposed to be some lead time. What is done in public procurement is that all these some of them are regulated. So if you want to do competitive tendering, the law requires that you publish your tender a minimum of 2 weeks and a maximum of 6 weeks.
yeah.
Okay.
So you already have some time.
Okay.
Now, when you have received your tenders, it will take you some time to do an evaluation.
Okay.
After doing an evaluation, depending on the value of the goods, it will also take you through another structure where we have the approving authorities,
Okay.
either the head of entity or the entity tender committee, or it will go through the central tender review committee. So now, by the time the contract is awarded, if you are doing a normal national competitive tendering, it should take you between 4 months, 4 to 6 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's from your side.
Yeah.
But from my side, I'm a private person. I'm not part of your planning and all that.
Yeah.
But I'll come in when it's
When we advertise.
you publish
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Okay. Then I come in. So when I come in, how long are we looking at?
So when you come in, in our tender document, we have something we call tender validity period.
Okay.
That is why in the tender, you see that it says tender must be valid for 90 days.
Okay.
Or
Meaning
60
that we
days.
are telling you that these quotations that you are offering to us, hold it for 90 days.
Okay.
After 90 days, between now until 90 days, we are sure to award you the contract.
Okay.
So
that's the highest period.
it can be 120 days.
Yes.
So that's the highest.
That's the highest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can have 60, we can
We
have
can
30,
have
have
60,
90.
we can have
But at
30.
least 120, I
120.
should
Is the
know that
highest.
Yes,
I will.
yes.
Then we move on to the next one. When someone will say, Charlie, with the public sector, when you are doing business with them, it's not sweet. You do it in 1 year, your money is not in.
Okay.
Your money will lock up. Why would I want to do business with the public sector?
Yes, yes,
Oh.
yes.
Is that blow?
Yeah, that is one of
Or
the...
when your money. See what
the payment aspect.
The payment condition.
Why will I, a private person, want to deal with the government sector? That's if I think my money will be locked up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is one of the.
So that is when we spoke about the planning.
Yeah.
You see, when monies are being solicited for before these procurements even are initiated, it is best. Most of the time, for instance, where I work, once we don't have the money, we don't go into procurement because we wouldn't want people coming in to give us goods or services and then we don't have monies to pay. We would always go through
100% of the time.
I think that's what we do.
We do
yes.
that.
We solicit for the monies.
I don't want
make
to be
sure that the monies are there before we go. Sometimes,
but most public institutions are not like that. No, within 6 months, 1 year, the person has still not been paid.
And these same suppliers
on these money.
Do you know? No. But these same suppliers would come to you in the office and be like, "Mommy, any business?" And then when we go like, there is no money for procurement to start. Oh, somewhere a bit mubetia. You understand?
Okay, so the idea is that with the government, they will pay.
Yes, so be paid. But with time, we have to take that thing out.
It's out.
And I think that is what is causing huge or high prices for government business.
Exactly.
Actually, that's
because people think that the payment will delay. They will add
inflation
something
and everything,
to cater for
and the interest on it, if it's a bank
and
loan.
Most of them are importers.
Yes.
Once the exchange rate changes, it changes everything. So as I was saying, I don't know whether because I have a finance background, I always want to be sure that you set aside some money before you start procurement. But unfortunately, the law is a bit silent on that, or the Procurement Act itself. But when you add the public financial management, that one is there. You don't have to start a procurement process when you know you don't have the allocation. Especially the institutions that take our monies from Ministry of Finance. Normally, Ministry of Finance will give allocations every quarter.
Okay.
So you don't start the procurement until even the allocation is given. Once it's in their plan.
Okay, so then I forgive me. I come back to ECG. Now we are coming back to this. So it means that if it's not part of your budget and your
planning,
you should not be able to spend the money.
Yes, if it's not part of your planning, then
ECG's loan was 1.3. It went to 8.2. So how was that possible?
So the baseline is that there are plans, and plans are based on budgets. They are not actuals. So sometimes we may look at the plan and say that we intend to build, let's say, 100,000 or 100 kilometers of road, but it is a plan. Then somebody will see that, oh, as far as this is a plan, it can be done. So straight away, they start the procurement process without having
like the cathedral.
Please.
But then you should also know that the plans are also updated.
Forgive me, because when it comes to my taxpayers' money, I don't understand. I don't understand how some.
You see, the plan is not static; it is updated. Every quarter we update the plan.
But from 1 to 7 billion, really? How? Okay, it's not anything. Let's go back to the single source. So we have emergency. We have the fact that we have
security features.
Okay.
Yes. For instance, when there are specific security features, national security, thank you, that we would want to see in certain
we can't.
I think it's fair.
Yes, we cannot just come and say that this is what we want.
We want 7 armor cars for the president.
Yes, there are certain security features that you would have to go straight to maybe Lamborghini and tell them that this is how I would want it to be, so that when there are any issues, we know that this is where the issue is coming from. Yes.
Okay, so I'm a private person. I want to work with a government entity in terms of procuring. You procuring from, how do I go about it?
Okay, so I think Mr. Ablo started it, that for any entity to work with the public institution, one, it must be registered.
Okay.
That is the first step. Two, he also mentioned that they should be, net payers, your tax clearance, because all these are being spelled out in the Act.
Okay.
We cannot do away, you know, the Access History is our Bible that we cannot do,
Procurers. So do you call it as a procurers?
Procurement officers.
No, procurers. I said, let's give it.
That one is your own
Let's give you words. Procurers.
Yeah. So you need to meet all of these requirements.
So if I meet the requirements, how will I go into your system? How do I do that?
Okay, so now PPA had also set up a supplier database, because as part of the requirements of the Act, we are to have a database. So PPA is managing the national database.
Okay.
So the national database, that is why we said if you do not have a PPA certificate, you cannot do business with
so you need to register with PPA.
You need to register with PPA.
So after all the three, I'll come to PPA.
Yes, so no PPA, no government contract.
It's not for free. It's not for free. So for local businesses, if you're a local business and you now intend to work and do some business with government institutions, if you are now coming, it's 500 cedis for a year. When you register, but for renewal, it's at 300.
Okay.
If it's a foreign business, it is $200.
Yeah.
It is $300 for registration and $200 for renewal.
I think
every year. And what we do is that it is 12-month cycle, so it's not the financial year. Currently, that's what the system is being done. And then, if you are done with this, now it takes you to the GANEP system.
Okay.
Automatically, we upload you into the Ghana Electronic Procurement System.
Okay.
And the Ghana Electronic Procurement System, gradually we are phasing out manual procurement, where these adverts, these things that we see, paperwork, all of them are phasing out gradually.
That's good.
So now, if you go on the GANEPS, which is the www.ganeps.gov.gh, if you go there, there are active and live tenders that are available. If you are registered and you are qualified and you are interested, you don't need to go to the entity to say you want to buy the tender document. You can even have access to the tender document online. Yeah. And you can scrutinize it, assess it, check.
That's good.
If you are ready to submit, that is when you use the Ghana.gov system to pay for the submission of your tender. And when you submit, nobody sees your tender document. It's also encrypted until the panel to open the tender opens.
So when someone not going to show someone's figure to someone to
I would urge the public to go on to the GANEP system, because
if you really want to work with the public.
Yes, if you really want to, because
it's a good one.
And you see, they said the early bird catches the worm. Yeah. And there are a lot of times that we do tender on the GANEP system and we don't see much suppliers, and it makes a lot of people catch the worm. Like the few people that are on the GANEP system. All you need to do is that, like Mr. Ablo mentioned, get your documents intact and get on the GANEP system. There are a lot of people are not there. Mr. Ablo, I do not understand why a lot of these
I think PPA should be coming to my show to do a whole 1 hour. Who knows? And just something small. I will do a whole.
We can do a whole session,
because we need
and do
all these database.
Open the system and help people to appreciate what is on the system, so that they can even follow on and be able to understand the system. Because this is open for everybody. And people, those who are taking good advantage of it are getting the best.
Because if you're a business person out there, you shouldn't just be looking at.
One advantage is it doesn't matter where you are.
Yes.
Once you have internet,
you
can see ongoing tenders. Tenders that are open that you can participate. You know, with manual, if for example, audit service is doing a tender, you have to, if you are in Tamale, you have to either fly or take a car and come to your office to buy the tender and go back work on it and bring it back.
Maybe when you buy the document,
and
you
that
see
is
some
where it's
requirements where you see
are not
that
qualified.
you are not
You know,
qualified.
the painful aspect is when you are doing the submission, and then we tell you submission is at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Monday 10 a.m. you would have to do the submission, and then you see these old men, old women running to the institution just to do a submission. They get there and it is 10:05, and they're like, "We cannot take your tender," and they're like, How?
Why?
And truly,
and then they'll start telling you how they suffer
we
to
cannot
get
take
there.
your tender
Because obviously on the service where you are located, the traffic is bad.
So now it comes to a set of understanding that then they will start saying that the thing has been given to somebody, where it is not true.
Yeah,
it is never true.
One you never, then that one it's debate.
Okay, so I'm speaking from where I work.
No,
it is never
for
true.
yourself in terms of your entity. At least you are in the procurement sector and you know what's happening.
I am in the procurement sector in my entity.
Apart from your entity, you don't hear anything.
You don't hear anything.
I can imagine how that. All right, so now let me move to this final bit because my time is almost up.
Yeah, I
so
think the time is not. We've not done anything.
Next week we'll be a lot. Next week we'll be looking at the private sector.
As it stands now, we've only talked about.
Why you? I'm saying
no. I'm telling you something. As it stands now, we've only talked about single source as a method. As a method. The competition, how it's supposed to be done. We've not done that. We have.
That's what I'm saying. That
okay.
We didn't even do the competition that you have. So
I'm saying that we cannot do. We cannot do everything.
Okay.
Okay. So what we've been able to do, we've made our viewers realize one thing.
Okay.
That you can work with the public sector.
That's why
they have a system, a software. Go in there. Go and have your details imputed there. Go to PPA.
Yes.
They will help you out, and it's our money. You understand? And you can chop your money some too.
Yeah,
exactly. You see, if you're a business person, you sell goods and you give services that the public sector needs. Don't just sit in your corner. Do something. Almost can they do maybe a check? Oh, till the cracker for inflation. All right. So now we'll go to. So next week we'll do the private sector. Okay. So today we are doing the public sector. So now help us with your final words. If I should say, look into your cameras and tell viewers what they have to know in respect to procurement in the public sector, what will you say? Let me start from Clement.
Okay, so as a private business person or entity, I think the biggest or largest consumption is from the government. Like government buys most of the things, even though it's the private sector that manufactures or provides the services. So if you are a serious business person, then you have to be working with government. But you just don't wake up and do that. There are processes that you have to follow. And I think we've mentioned some. You should get, and changes are happening with respect to digitalization. So procurement, with time, the manual processes will give way to electronic procurement, which is the garnets for government. So we need the suppliers, the contractors, and then service consultants here to be on the garnets so that when we want them to do work for us, we can get them.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I would say that I will touch on price. A lot of people, when tendering for or bidding for government contracts, would think about price. I would advise that do not think about price. Look at your documentations, because you might even be, after evaluation, you might be the only one standing, because price is the last thing that we look at. So please don't think too much about price when you are bidding for government contracts. Think about your documentations. Make sure that your PPA is up to date. Your tax clearance especially is up to date. Your SNET, you are registered. You have your renewal. Very important. A lot of people just register and they do not do the renewal, and this goes against them. don't think too much about price, because before we get to price, we would have evaluated all these things that I have spoken about. And if you do not go through all these things I have spoken about,
steps, you even be
then
out before.
even if your price is the least, we might not even get to price, and then you'll be out. So please do not think about price. Although we would want your prices to be one that we can work with, but then do not think about price, but make sure that your documentations are intact.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. I would just want to say that for everybody, be it in the private sector, be it the public sector, you need to have a better understanding of procurement laws in the country. So if you are a private sector institution that want to do business with government, understand the law.
Yes.
If you don't understand it, ask the necessary areas. There are so many opportunities for training. So at PPA, we do a lot of training for private entities to understand the procurement and how to even put in tenders and win tenders. At the same time, if you are in the public sector and you are also doing procurement and you are also not meeting, you have a lot of challenges. You better understand the act. So I would say that understand the law, understand the regulations. There are so many guidelines, so many things that are in procurement which we have not touched on.
Yes.
If you get a little understanding in some of these things, it helps you put yourself up and you become very competitive, and you, at the end of the day, you realize that you'll be giving the real output where people will say that you are giving value for money, be it public sector, be it private sector. That's my closing remarks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Inti niye ka bebe niye ka ne say we a business person ewo honom. Now tonto nyama na wo services biton men hwehwe o area ho nketenketenka. Government area no say one place obenye tipinye skapa. The government into up chairs, up tables, up cups, up way. Bede what I say, but documents na say intact. Secondly, no so no just ko PPA, na PPA register. Nzu nim say na nyama we ni na a bit man link up with AB wa say o betima be training more staff no betima be boa mo na mo hu say na mo betima aye no because your task can be a echo pool baby no so sectors when echo to nyama na enye skadi bi ndia every day enye copy pindi what I say. And most importantly, when we started, we also said something about ECG and the matters are arising from ECG. I don't know what you heard, but from what I've heard, I've come to a conclusion myself. What's your conclusion? You not share, which I can't share on TV. You come privately. We'll discuss it because it's our money and has to be used right. So next week we'll be looking at the private sector. So we'll be looking at procurement itself, the competitiveness of it, how to be a competitive person if you are in that sector, and if you're a business person, how to also get it. So until next week, please stay safe, and it's adieu from us.